You're listening to How I Met Your Monster, a podcast that explores the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. My name's Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And together we dive into the world of horror to find out how filmmakers have introduced us to our favorite monsters time and time again. This is How I Met Your Monster.
Boss, you opened it. We came.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left.
Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Call you Meatloaf! Surprise, Sydney.
Come on, don't be chicken shit.
Hello and welcome to How I Met Your Monster, the show where we discuss the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. I'm Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And today we are joined by two incredible filmmakers, Matthew and Nathaniel Barber. How you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing great. Thanks for having us on the show again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because you guys were actually on almost exactly a year ago to talk about
Jason Lives.
which one do we Jason Lives. Jason Lives. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not. I was thinking about that. It was not only just a Jason movie, but it was a Jason movie in which Jason is brought back to life through electricity, just like through a different kind of electricity. One was from the sky. This one's from the water. There's like there's a natural element here.
The elements, yeah.
I'm sure we could peel apart if we had the time, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah. We're not going to peel it apart because today we need to peel apart Jason Takes Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to talk about why. And I'll be honest with you. I'm going to struggle through this one. Why it is the best Friday the 13th movie
Yeah, I'm
in the series.
with you, Zach, for sure. This is the first time I ever watched this.
Oh, yeah?
And I barely made it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wait,
Oh, no.
Casey, you barely made it, but you do think it's one of the best?
No, it's not. I thought Zach said it wasn't.
Well, no. So I have what we have talked about lots on this show. I have the nostalgia factor where this was the Friday the 13th that I watched the most as a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I went into it this time. I told all of you that I am going to come strong with my arguments for why it's the best. And
I misunderstood.
Yeah. And so I was watching it.
On.
I was watching it like 2 nights ago and I was like, oh, this is going to be tough.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I don't even know how it ends. I was so checked out. I don't know what happened.
What?
Yeah. I stopped taking notes at one point and then I don't know what I was doing.
I almost feel like this is going to be a more fun experience for you for us to sort of relay the sequence of events, because I can assure you that even if you miss the last 10 minutes of the movie and someone tried explaining it to you, you'd be like, oh, you're describing a different movie because it brings up like toxic waste and sewers and a man zombie transforming into a boy.
There were like 3 minutes of it that were very, like the part where she is taken later by those muggers and like shot up with fucking drugs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That part was like real, like, it's like, wow, this is so intense. And like, it was the best part of the movie, honestly. It's terrible, but it was the best part of the movie to me.
What about you guys? Where does this fall in your list of Friday the 13th movies?
For me, probably in the lower part, the worst.
Although I'll give it credit because the part Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X, I don't think I've actually ever been able to sit through the whole film. This movie I can sit through.
Jason Goes to Hell was my favorite growing up, which I don't understand why, but it was.
See, I'm in your guys' boat where it's like, so Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason X, and Jason Goes to Hell are like my bottom ranking ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of, it kind of alternates. It depends. It's always like, I'll like have a sort of idea of how I rank them, and then I'll rewatch them, and there's so much going against them in so many unique ways that it's hard to like decide which one like is just triggering me more, you know, in terms of being like, this is unwatchable. So it just kind of like, they fluctuate basically.
Yeah.
But I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, we chose this movie because of like Manhattan, but like, doesn't Maniac take place in New York City? Couldn't we have done Maniac or something?
I blame myself.
We're doing Jason Takes Manhattan today in honor of Scream 6 being set in New York City. In what capacity, we don't know fully, but we thought it would be fun to revisit Jason Takes Manhattan.
I kind of hope Scream 6 just like an hour and 14 minutes just take place on a boat, and then the last 40 minutes are in Canadian settings that are supposed to be, which actually I do think they're filming it in Canada, which is kind of amazing.
Oh my gosh. But you know what I noticed in during this watch is they bookend this movie with shots of New York City, and it's the same shots that they're going to use later in the movie, but it's almost like, how can they pack as much New York into this as they can?
Of course.
There's another word for that. It's called a lie. They lie to us when they start this movie. It's like, look, we're in New York City. Just kidding. And then it's like, it's a bookend, but it's also a lie.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this in just a minute. But because we have some amazing guests on today, I want to take just a brief moment and talk about some of the core content we've watched. I'm excited to talk about, I finally watched John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
Oh,
right on.
After I watched They Live last week, I was like just on this John Carpenter kick, and I had never seen Prince of Darkness, and it's really fucking cool. Have any of you guys seen it?
No.
I don't remember much about it. It's been a while.
So it's really neat because the premise is like the Catholic Church has kept this secret hidden for like 2,000 years, that the devil is kind of just like a scientific thing. I don't know if I'm describing that right, but they go to the bottom of this church and there's like this tube of green like liquid that's just like swirling around, and it's just this like matter that can.
So is it supernatural?
That's the point, is that it's really not, but the Catholic Church since the time of Jesus has like put this in everybody's head that it's like a supernatural thing, and like that's the cover up. Is that the whole thing about being supernatural is a lie? It's really just this like
that's fun.
Substance. And so then of course it like leaks out of the tank and shit happens.
Interesting.
But it's a very cool take on
that. Is not what I thought it was about.
Thing.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. It's really cool. And like one of the main, besides what's his name? Loomis.
Donald Pleasance.
Donald Pleasance, yes. The other main actor is, I forgot his name. The shopkeeper in Tremors. The guy who is in like Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah. And he's
in everything.
Victor Wong. Yeah.
Victor Wong.
Wong. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Victor Wong is one of the other main characters. And it's weird to see him in like a leading role, because usually he's just like a bit player.
He's like the fun sidekick.
Yeah. So that was cool. But what about you guys? Casey, have you watched anything since our last recording?
No.
Danny?
Is that the name of the movie? No.
I watched the finale of The Boys, but that was it.
That counts. That's kind of horrific. Is it anything like gruesome? I mean, I'm assuming something gruesome happened.
Oh, yeah.
Based on everything else you've told us about the show.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very, very political now. So.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did see a lot of pictures kind of got leaked, and there was a lot of like naked people running around and a lot of butts. So I was like, okay, I'm intrigued.
Oh, there was a giant superhero orgy at one point. That was like season 5 or 6, or episode 5 or 6 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm in.
That shows, it's wild.
It's good.
Danny, have you watched anything good?
I watched a few things, but I'm going to list them and then I'm going to talk about the last one.
Okay.
Okay.
I rewatched last night in Soho because I was just in that headspace.
It's on HBO
I want to talk
Max
about
now.
it. I'm not gonna. Amityville Horror. Just watched that. Jimmy and I started our whole watch of the Amityville Horror franchise.
Okay.
Which took a lot of like, we literally I felt like we had like a scalpel where we were like, okay, so there's like 20 plus Amityville Horror movies because, you know, anyone can make a movie with Amityville in the title. But then we had to figure out like which ones are technically canon. You know, do we want to watch the made-for-TV movies? Because 3 of the made-for-TV movies are sequels to a direct-to-video movie. So it's like, does that count? So it's been a lot of like that. It's been a building block of kind of like assessing what necessarily counts. But we narrowed it down to like 7 or 8.
Like 2 years ago, I watched through them until I got to like the 2000s and later. But I watched like the Dollhouse one and the one about the clocks, and there's one about like Hell House or something, and then some of them are good. I'm hoping. I shouldn't say good, but some of them are enjoyable.
Some of them are good with an asterisk.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did Amityville. I started rewatching, or not rewatching, but I finally picked up watching the Apple TV Plus series from M. Night Shyamalan, Servant. Which I kind of abandoned for no reason. But I'm back on it. It's fun. What I will talk about briefly that I really enjoyed, and I think, this definitely counts as horror, but I finally got caught up on all of Stranger Things. Oh. I finished season 4. Had a lot of fun with it. I know it's kind of like a running thing where everyone's like, did you notice like the little nods to Nightmare on Elm Street? And it's like, it's very on the nose. Like it is so influenced by Nightmare on Elm Street. Like to call it out is like, isn't he? Yeah, like even Robert Englund has a cameo in it.
So I'm right at the cutoff point. I'm at the first half of season 4.
Okay, let me spoil it.
We've watched it. I have not watched the second half of season 4 yet. Have you guys seen it?
No, I think I through season 3. I think. Yeah, I stepped out for me. Okay. Season 2, I was kind of done, and then season 3 was the nail in the coffin. Like, I mean, I don't know, I just didn't like the show anymore. I liked season 1 a lot, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the way it was for me. Like with season 3, I got about halfway through, and I was like, I'm not into it anymore. But then I went back and finished it and then started 4. And I'm so glad that I did because it's really good.
See, I was on like the other page where I started season 2 and I just wasn't into it. And then finally, like it literally was a case of sort of like everyone else is doing it. So everyone started watching Stranger Things again. So I was like, well, I'll pick it up. I kind of want to be like part of like, you know, like in on the zeitgeist kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I did, and I had fun with it. I could see people's criticisms of the show, but to be honest, like I go into it and I'm just like, I'm so easy to entertain. I'm like, oh my God, it's set in the 80s. Look, that looks cozy. Oh, that's a reference to that. I'm like, I'm in. Yeah. I'm sold.
Yeah. Matthew, Nathaniel, is there any good horror content that you've watched lately that you want to talk about?
Not necessarily. I guess you could say watched. I recently replayed the games Until Dawn to get ready for the Supermassive Games. They have this new slasher game called The Quarry, and it's got Ted Raimi, David Arquette. It's pretty cool. I already
Danny has played that.
Yeah, it's
fun. Have you guys started it yet?
I played it and I'm replaying it now.
Yeah, see, I played it first and then I had a horrible ending. So I searched up, okay, how do I save this person? And I was giving him all these hints. So he had a great ending. Mine was like, I did it all by myself. Like the characters I just hated were the only ones that survived. And it's like, really? But I guess maybe I was part of making, me hate them. Like the decisions you make can alter how they react. And it's like, oh, I made this person horrible. Yeah.
My narrative was basically like I turned mine to like a gay rom-com, and then by the end I thought I had a happy ending, and then I fucked it all up but by one decision, and I was like, oh no. And then the credits rolled and I was like, what did I do?
Typical gay rom-com,
It was that damn teddy bear, probably. I didn't pick up the teddy bear.
It's like one thing you don't pick up. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Man, I might have to get it. I might have to play it.
But yeah, and then this is all related, but we've been watching all the Bond movies again. We're big Bond fans, probably more Bond fans than Jason. But the Connery films, I forgot how much I love them. Like the Goldfinger's really good, and
From Russia with Love.
Love.
It's interesting having not watched, because I thought, oh, these things are going to be real weird. Because when I used to watch them all the time when I was a teenager, so it was like, oh, this is cool, and I thought they wouldn't age that well. And then, but I'm like watching them now. It's like, oh, okay. Now I kind of remember
Some of them didn't age too well. Thunderball for me was
a little slow.
Oh, really?
Water battles. Yeah,
very exciting.
Not to bring down the mood, but I think I heard on the radio this morning that the creator of the theme song died.
Oh, really?
I read that too. Yeah. Well, let's pour one out.
Yeah.
Let's pour this coffee out on my keyboard.
You know who else died, right?
Who?
James Caan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Man, why do I always talk about the dead people?
Loving the energy, Zach.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm like, guys,
I love this movie.
Great.
Guess what? They all died. Oh, okay. No, we need that. We need to ground ourselves in reality every now and then.
All right, are you guys ready to meet our monster again?
Yes.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Let's fucking do it.
Let's get on the boat. Let's head to.
If we have to.
Let's
get on this fucking cruise, guys.
Yeah.
Let's ride this ship out of a lake.
Oh my god.
I have so many questions for this movie. It's just, I could start off by saying, like, it's like, okay, so Camp Crystal Lake is now abandoned, but they have lights on, like, you know, the signs, like the M's falling off. And then, like, when the power gets struck, it all goes out. And it's like, what? Someone's paying for the electric bill here? What's going on? But
I didn't even think about that.
So before we get into it, Nathaniel, Matthew, and Daniel, you guys are the true, like, Jason. You guys know the most about Jason out of all of us. Can you bring us up to speed where part 7 ended?
Yeah, the part prior to this one's the one that's basically like a character like Carrie Jason fights. Am I right?
Yeah.
And this is the one where, like,
okay, yeah,
her dad's ghost who died at the pier comes back and then crushes Jason with the pier. I believe that's how it ends.
Okay.
That explains why he's like in the middle of a bunch of wood.
Yeah.
He's super waterlogged in this movie. Like, I don't know if I was the only one, like, staring at his arms the whole movie. They're like sausages.
Yes. Yes.
I made a note where I was like, he's too gooey.
He's very gooey.
Just
He's
too gooey.
very gooey. Yeah.
Like, unpleasant to look at.
Yeah, I mean they didn't put much into practical. They didn't like show any of the kills or anything either. So they really cut the budget on the effects in this movie for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of times I read there's a book called Crystal Lake Memories, and they'd shoot all these really gory sequences, and then the MPAA would say, no thanks, and they'd give them a rating. So they have to cut and cut and cut until it's like you're watching a death scene and you're like, what am I watching? Because it's just so choppy.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so depressing.
He could get away with it, but not. Apparently, they weren't confined to Friday the 13th.
Yeah. He kills a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a high body count.
Well, that's why I love that. We may have talked about this before, but I love that whole the story you hear about Wes Craven when he was doing the Scream movies, specifically Scream 1, when he was like, you shoot basically more gore than you intend to put in the final cut. So then by the time the MPA takes a look at it, like, cut back, they're like, cool, thanks for giving me exactly what I was aiming for in the first place.
Oh,
that's smart. Yeah.
Smart. Yeah.
Okay, so we open up on Crystal Lake with a couple floating on a boat.
Well, they were taking that boat to get to the other boat.
Right, yeah.
So these are
they were supposed to be on the cruise.
Students, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. And then the dude just like has a Jason mask.
Yeah, I mean,
there on the boat with the cut.
Yeah, that's what
in the thing. Like
the head. Yeah, it's like what? And see, that was another thing I searched on this Jason. And they said that it was supposedly a replica of the mask. That's what the site claimed. And it's like, how would he know what happened and where the scratches?
Yeah.
And he also has like a retractable like fake knife.
Yeah.
It's just there's so many, and they're on the actual location where Jason was killed. There's just so much like packed into like this convenience.
Not only is it perfectly set up and they're on the same lake, they are right above him.
They are, yeah.
Out of the whole lake.
They conveniently lay their anchor right in the spot to bring him back to life. Yeah.
And there's like power lines running under this lake.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess there were other houses because the other Jason movies, there was like, which one was that where they stayed at a house that was near, it was on this lake, but another side.
Final chapter.
Yeah.
Before, I think.
So it's like
the same. It's the same house from Pumpkinhead, right? Is that the one?
Oh yeah. The same house they shot for Pumpkinhead. Yeah. I don't remember the opening like narrator of this movie who like sets up the story. I don't remember that happening before. Is that new?
Did that? I don't know because I didn't notice this time. So.
I'm curious what his like, what the tone and theme of his show is, because it's like it's either so late or so early that it's still dark, and he's just sort of like commenting on what a city is. He's like, it's really dangerous at night. It's like, okay, where are you going with this?
Oh, that's right. He's the radio guy who somehow like name drops the class that's coming to visit New York City. Like they're
important.
Like it's fucking special.
Yeah.
That was weird.
The senior class of a school from another state is visiting. So let's give them a shout out.
It was funny because I watched this on Pluto TV. It was free. And I was like, fuck it. I've seen it a million times. I don't care if there's commercials. And there was two options and I clicked one and it started. And number one, I didn't remember that there was like a voiceover at the beginning. And two, I had accidentally selected the Spanish audio version. And so it was just like this. It was like I was watching like Telemundo or something. And they just started like talking. And I was like, are they just describing the movie in Spanish? And so I was so confused. So I had to go back and find the right version and watch it.
Zach, that's funny. But that opening scene actually is very important because it does set up sort of the Chekhov's gun of the movie, which is the fact that, as we all know, New York City flushes out all of its toxic waste through the sewers at midnight every night.
Is that what that was supposed to show me? I didn't catch any.
Yeah, when the rat is basically climbing out, which I guess could almost be like
rat.
Well, I don't think. I guess it does die in the next shot.
It doesn't. That's not the. I mean, somebody put that rat in that barrel so that it would climb out. That's sad. That's animal.
Well, like rats can swim. Right?
Rats love waste.
Yeah,
toxic waste.
I mean, they can swim.
But would you like somebody 300 times your size picking you up and putting you in a barrel, Zach?
Happens to me all the time.
No, you wouldn't.
No, I probably wouldn't.
Important plot details set up this movie.
Speaking of the plot. Why did they even try?
The movie?
What?
Why did they even try to make that the plot in this movie? Like, it would have really just been better if they left that whole thing out.
What, the New York City bit?
No, the thing about that girl who couldn't swim.
Oh, well, see, this feeds into my theory. Okay. And I'm just going to get right into it.
Okay.
I'm going to call this the How I Met Your Monster conspiracy theory of the week.
All right.
It's not really a conspiracy theory, but I just like to hear the music.
Hit it.
You're telling me that NASA is going to kill the president of the United States with an earthquake?
Not exactly the kind of thing a Secret Service agent can just throw himself on top of. The whole Vietnam War was fought over a bet that Howard Hughes lost to Aristotle Onassis. This is our third issue this year. Conspiracy theory.
Jason, what's her name?
Rennie.
Rennie.
Yeah.
Jason needs Rennie. Jason is protecting Rennie, right? So Jason's was his he was a boy and his I got this.
Did you write it down?
We have yet to talk about the movie.
Well, yeah,
that's how confusing this movie is.
Okay, so Jason needs Rennie because Jason, as he is now, the goopy zombie Jason, is trying. He's dead, right? He's a zombie, and he is trying to stay in the real world. His ghost, the little kid that Rennie keeps having visions of, is like, help me. I want to cross over to the other side and just be done with this ghost thing. But Jason, his older self, wants to stay on Earth. So he's fighting, and he knows that Rennie is the only one who can save little Jason's ghost.
Okay.
So are you following?
That's great,
Yeah.
but do you think that that's what they thought about when they were making the movie?
Maybe it was in the back of their heads.
I don't think so.
I love that Jason's just this like poor lost soul, and he's like, "Well, I may as well murder people."
Well, why does he keep going after Rennie?
That's what I'm saying. They were grasping so hard to try and find some sort of fucking plot line here. That's why he's still going after her.
Yeah,
it's a ghost thing. I'm telling you.
There's a lot of retconning in these movies. I don't know if yeah. Okay.
Oh, and that's another reason that he can teleport, because he's well, no, he's not the ghost. Fuck.
Yeah, nice try.
Well, at least like I watched the commentary today, and then like there was a behind the scenes thing where the director said why he turned. Well, he didn't give a reason why he turns back to a boy, but he asked the studio, "Can I kill Jason?" And they're like, "Sure." And he was like, "Okay, how can I kill him where, we know for a fact that he's dead?" So then he turns into the boy, but it's like, why did he turn into the boy? Because of the toxic waste? Because he's been killed before, but they didn't really have an explanation for that. And then like, that was one of the questions, like, going after Rennie? And like, Kane Hodder in the commentary says, where was it? Jason kills people because they're there. That was his like motive. It's like, oh, if someone's there, I'll just murder them. But then I have a lot of questions there, because like when you're in New York, there are lots of people you could kill.
Yeah,
there are. Yeah, there's lots of people.
Like in the train, it's like
diner.
Yeah, those kids with the boombox, and it's like, why is
he straight up scares them.
Yeah,
I thought maybe they were related somehow. Like that's what my first thought was. Like, she can't swim. Jason couldn't swim. They must be related. Nope.
It's funny. The more we talk about it, it's one of those movies that when you watch it, it's just absolutely bonkers, like crazy. But then when we talk about it, it's like, wow, you really can sort of like extrapolate like so much from it. And it's like, wait, okay, maybe they are, because I didn't put that together, that they are both like, Rennie and Jason do have like issues with like the lake and with swimming. And then there's like the boy, and the toxic waste turns him into a boy, but he shows up as a spirit, kind of, Zach, to your point. And like, and then like also there's the question, like, why is like I was going to touch on this later, but like there's so many different versions of Jason, when he's a boy. And I wasn't sure if that was like a mistake or an oversight or deliberate, that we sometimes see young Jason as like just a normal boy, and then sometimes with like a little bit of makeup on his eye, and then sometimes like fully like just like gooped up with makeup.
Gooped up.
Yeah.
I would also like
I'm
to
going
know,
nowhere with this. I'm just confused. And I'm like trying to like figure it out.
Also, this doesn't necessarily have to do with this movie, but like, how does drowning create like a giant fucking goose egg on your face?
That was just Jason's look from like the beginning.
Yeah, I know that in the first movie, like when he comes out out of the water and shit. But why?
I think that was just his head.
So he was deformed.
Yeah. I wonder.
Yeah.
If the thinking is that, because I'm trying to think, it's like when we saw his ghost, he was always deformed when the little kid ghost, And it's like, okay, when he dies, looks normal. Is that supposed to be like, okay, he's been like
restored?
Yeah, restored to like he's good now or something.
Oh.
It's not really the best worded way, but yeah. Like now he's not evil.
No, that actually makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then maybe because he does sort of get progressively, I wasn't sure if it was like just a continuity error, but I guess it could be like
honestly,
a story
I thought
thing
that it was,
where he does get progressively more like kind of, for lack of a better word, like deformed.
Yeah.
Unless that is the best word.
Interesting.
I really hope if Scream 6 takes anything from this movie as sort of like inspiration or like a little nod, I hope it's the confusion.
No,
so that we can just have this much fun on that episode when we eventually get to it.
I hope that it's nothing like this movie. Not a single fucking thing.
I would love for them to do like, oh, we're in a lake, and then somehow we end up in New York. For that, because like Matthew was like, what's the definition of a lake? And we were searching it up. And, lake's closed off, and it's like, how did they get the boat?
Yeah.
Did they do like some like Revolutionary War stuff where they like put logs and move the boat over? Maybe Jason.
Well, do we know where they started at? Where did they start from?
They started in Crystal Lake.
Oh,
because
that's right.
The boat.
That's right.
When they're on the cruise, you see the boat like drift by the cruise boat.
That's right. That's right.
The boat of those two dead kids, and so it's all connected.
Well, at this point, we all know that Jason has these supernatural powers. I just wish they left that scene that they ultimately cut, where he parts the sea like Moses, and he opens up a canal to New York City from Crystal Lake.
Yeah, they should have left that in. That would have answered a lot of our questions. But what if in Scream 6 you just find out that like Woodsboro is a suburb of New York City, and so they're just like right there.
Perfect.
They turn the camera like, look, it's been there. There's the Statue of Liberty. It's been there the whole time.
Oh yeah, and when they're on that little fucking rowboat, they would have seen the lights from the city before they saw.
No.
Just
foggy.
The Statue of Liberty.
No.
Yeah, it's the fog.
I mean, fucking Manhattan's a big island. What are the odds that they come in right by the Statue of Liberty?
Well, that whole area, if you've ever been, I don't know if that's necessarily the sound, but like whatever that body of water is called, like you said, like it's not like you're surrounded by like this like vast ocean. You see land on both sides. Like if you're so the whole idea is that it's set in New Jersey, so you're coming a little bit from like the south. So you're coming up. You're not coming from the Atlantic Ocean. You're coming up from Jersey, meaning you're going to be surrounded by land at it's very close. It's not as open as they're implying, even with like such a dense fog.
They were like lost at sea.
And you're also like going under bridges. Like it just doesn't make any sense at all.
So Rennie's teacher, I guess, gives her a pen that apparently Stephen King used in high school.
Yeah,
supposedly.
He used a calligraphy pen.
Is Stephen King, to be exact, that he used that kind of pen in high school?
Well, he probably just wanted to be a fancy boy. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
You know?
I just love, I don't understand what they're setting up. I don't understand if that's for Rennie, like she's a horror fan, or if that was just like the filmmakers were horror fans and are like, oh, I want to make a nod to Stephen King.
Well, yeah,
just because.
Dan, it is a horror movie.
That's fair. But Rennie's not, I don't know.
She's a writer.
Is she?
What does she write, though?
I don't. We don't know anything. That's another problem that I had with this movie. We don't know anything about these people that we're supposed to care about.
Oh, I would have loved if like
thing.
The twist was at the end. We find out that she like wrote this story. It's like her fan fiction entry into the Friday the 13th franchise.
Unfortunately, you didn't write this movie.
But what if like the pen was possessed by Stephen King? So like technically Stephen King's like spirit wrote Jason Takes Manhattan.
The pen saves her life.
Yeah. Stephen King's the hero of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, she stabs him in the eye.
Remember? Yeah. So this is like canonically like a Stephen King story.
Yeah.
We all agree on that.
Yeah.
Unanimously, right? Okay, moving on.
It's almost as good as Misery.
but it had like some Stephen King like TV movie kind of vibes, where like the blue light or green lighting and stuff. Like the part where the kid comes out the mirror made me think of like the Shining miniseries or The Stand or one of those from the early 90s.
Oh yes,
but,
I'm signing off. I love this.
Yeah,
it's canon. I'm into it. To be honest, I would probably argue that this is one of the stronger Stephen King TV movies.
No,
for what it's worth.
The Langoliers.
Yeah,
the Langoliers was the best one.
Well, when you talk about that green light, I think Tommy Knockers. Remember Tommy Knockers?
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, also that there was also that thing that they were trying to do where they were making that the captain of the ship disappointed with his son who didn't want to fucking be a captain of a ship.
Oh my gosh. You can see the look on his face where he's like, fuck, I hate my son.
But this is like, but this was another, they tried to put another thing in there, right? Like they give you that one part and then a part later where, what does he say? Give you some advice. Don't push him too hard or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing.
That's the story that we get about the captain and his son.
There's a lot of characters to work with, and the writers were doing their best to sort of give them all their sort of like, individuality and subplots. It reads a little bit like soap opera-y, but
yes, and
attempts were made.
Could have just been as simple as his dad died, and then he's trying to man the ship himself, and people are like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, my dad wanted me to be a captain, but it just really wasn't my thing."
Yeah, we focused too long. Yeah, I agree.
It was weird to me.
But I did feel really bad for the other ship guy who he says that to. He's like, how old's your son now? And he's like 19 months. And he's like, let me tell you something. Go easy on him. He's like, okay, I will. And then he just gets fucking stabbed. And you're just like, oh, shit. And I just felt really bad for him because he had a brand new baby.
Yeah. His wife is now single. His single mom. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sucks.
But speaking of the ship, did you guys catch the name of it? The Lazarus? Mm-hmm. Which is referencing the character from the Bible who was brought back to life, not unlike our good friend Jason Voorhees.
Nice. Yeah, I caught the name of the ship, but I didn't know what Lazarus meant.
Now you do. Got to read the Bible, Zach. Got to read your Bible.
Mm-hmm.
You're slacking.
One thing that really stood out was I appreciate how much these kids, all right, so if you're going from like Jersey to Manhattan, it's probably not the longest ride. You probably got like 2 to 3 hours tops, I'd argue. I could be wrong. Although they do kind of frame it as almost like an overnight ride. So who's to say? I do appreciate that they all the kids immediately, like the second they got on the boat, it is like, must be like 8, 9 a.m. in the morning, you would imagine. They take full advantage of all the amenities of the ship. Like they're boxing, they're going to the spa, they're dancing, there's just like a lot going on. Yeah, they're playing guitar in like in the basement. They're doing drugs.
Oh my god! First of all, that kid that dies in the sauna. Can you imagine dying having a fucking rock shoved through your chest?
Oh my god! It's a fantastic death scene.
It was,
especially with the flames.
It hurt me watching it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But this time I thought about that. I was like, number one, at first I was like, we don't even see this guy's face. Like, who is this guy? He's literally just a random person to up the body count. But then he talks about being the opponent of Julius. Mm-hmm. But poor guy, he's got the towel over his face the whole time. He has no idea this is coming.
No.
From the commentary, apparently why we don't see his face is because it was a reshoot and it's another actor playing it. So that's why. Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay. And this is kind of funny because I was thinking this guy doesn't have the same build as the guy we just saw. That guy was
examining
short.
his body.
And this guy looked kind of tall. And I was like, that's kind of weird. But okay. Now it makes sense.
I don't know if you guys have been in a sauna, but I don't want to cover my face.
No,
with anything. It's so hot.
No. I do love
he was
sauna,
like, I came here to die. So like Jason murdering him was just like kind of
he was gonna
fast-tracking
asphyxiate anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, and those girls doing drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight up coke.
I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, it's so 80s.
There was like. So I've never done drugs, and that's true. I've never done any fucking drugs. I've never smoked a cigarette, right? But I can tell that nobody that has made this movie has used drugs either.
Okay.
Well, they're shooting like heroin in the beginning, right?
Oh yeah, he's just like
With
kind of like
these-
strolling along. He's like, just shoots it up.
With these giant syringes. They're like 3 cc syringes. And I'm sorry, I know that that's not what you use when you shoot up drugs.
Okay.
It's
Okay,
ultra heroin.
It's the ultra heroin with the
Yeah.
And then when they're snorting the cocaine, they don't actually put it into lines. She's just like
She just
I don't
throws
know.
it in the air like
Basically, well, it's like Scarface, I guess. They're just like shoving their face on it, on the pile of cocaine. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was weird. And then their decision to try and fix the fact that they may have been caught doing drugs was to throw this girl overboard. So I guess like a manslaughter charge is better than some sort of drug issue. I don't know.
I think this movie, Casey, is a commentary on 80s excess, and scene represented that in like the best visual form that the writers could come up with.
Oh, absolutely.
Do drugs, get caught, murder,
and then try to sleep with your fucking teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect.
I love the logic too. Also, with like, I feel like no one really. This script just needed a couple more passes just to like for someone to ask a question and someone to answer it very briefly, because they were like, your paper's due next week.
Oh my god!
But this is like a graduation trip.
Yeah.
But like it's
yeah,
nothing like their own timelines don't make sense.
Yeah, it's an excuse for him to go to her room so that she could have fucking her bones drawn on top of her. Zach, I'm sorry that we're not talking about the monster, but this movie is a monster. Okay, Jason is not the only monster here.
There are several monsters in this movie.
Okay.
I would argue, I can't remember her name. It's one name I didn't write down, but the cocaine queen,
Tamara, something like that.
Okay,
Tamara. Tammy.
We'll give her a little nickname. She was definitely a monster. I would say Charles, the teacher. There were just like a lot of. They were just like gross human beings.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Wayne real quick. Can we talk about Wayne?
Yes.
I feel like Wayne could have had some potential.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't know. He was a go-getter. He was a go-getter.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he was willing to like blackmail teachers and things like that to get what he wanted.
You're right.
He could have made it. He could have made it.
Yeah, it's a big part of Hollywood is blackmail.
Also, and I feel like I'm going back to my Jason as a protector theory. I think Jason was on Wayne's side for a while.
Well, he did. He did kill him though. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but listen. So Wayne blackmails the teacher because he wants to get with Tammy.
Cocaine Tammy.
And so like she like she shuts him down, right? And he like closes his door and he's like, Wayne, you're an asshole. When he walks down the hallway, Jason like peeks his head around the corner, like out of that fucking doorway, and he's like, you can just tell he's like, that's the last time Tammy fucking breaks his heart. And then so he immediately goes and kills Tammy, right? And then later, so he was like, I got your back, Wayne. I got this. But then later, Wayne accidentally shoots that ship crew person because he couldn't see. And then Jason was there and he was like, no, Wayne, you like fucking overstepped your boundaries. That's my job. Yeah. And he's like, fuck you.
I love how virtuous Jason is from your perspective.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that he thinks.
You're like, well, when our hero Jason finally gets on the boat and he makes sure to get the kids to New York safely.
Well, I mean, are you on his side? Because you are on his mom's side.
Oh, wait. Well, I will argue that I will defend Zach and your take on Jason's personality, I guess, in this movie, because I was a staunch supporter of Mrs. Voorhees' innocence and Heroicism? Is that a word? Heroicism?
Heroics?
Heroics? Yeah.
I would say.
So maybe it's just, I guess it's hereditary. Jason and his mother are the heroes of this franchise.
Okay.
Case closed.
But why are you okay with what Pam did?
She's just looking out for her son.
Okay.
Her son was murdered, and she's like, listen,
He wasn't murdered. He wasn't murdered. She didn't give him swimming lessons.
He was neglected.
Okay.
And if I was a lawyer, I could have found some murder charges against those teenagers had they survived and had Pamela Voorhees not murdered them.
I don't know. They couldn't convict Casey
But the thing
Anthony.
is with Pamela Voorhees is she spent so much time just trying to keep the camp closed. Now, mind you, she did kill those kids, but that was like direct revenge. Like they were responsible for neglecting.
Okay.
And then when you listen to the guy, the driver who drives, is it Annie, the cook in the first Friday the 13th? And he's basically giving her sort of a history lesson on how the camp like kind of has it's been impossible to reopen it because there's always been an issue, like the water's not working or this is happening. And she would never intended to like straight up murder anyone. Once they come onto her property, onto her territory, then she does it. But it was only just because she loved her son.
Okay.
Don't get me started on this.
Do you guys think Pamela Voorhees was justified in what she did?
I don't think so.
Never really put much thought to it. Sure.
That's fair. Most people probably don't. Danny's just a rare breed.
Yeah, I was actually trying to make sense of like the backstory of Jason and stuff, and I was reading up online because it's like, okay, because it gets a little muddy there where it's like, he dies as a kid, but then he comes back as a grown man, and then he dies again and becomes a ghost.
I never thought of that.
According to online, it said that, where is this? I've got this stuff written down. Is that even right? So it says Jason's mother thought he drowned at the age 11. Jason actually survived. This is what this site claims. He becomes a hermit living in the woods and feeding off of plants, bugs, and animals. Then his mother comes back when the camp's there and then kills them. And that's when Jason sees his mother killed. So at least that's what this site was claiming.
Okay.
I've always kind of subscribed to that.
Yeah. My thinking was Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. That's kind of where I was like, it's like, okay, you want to make sense of this? It's like, how can we, where can we put Jason? New York, that'll make money.
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't have the budget. Well, Vancouver, maybe a boat movie. But yeah,
it's funny.
Not exactly New York.
That's what kind of frustrates me. I totally understand like budgetary restraints and everything, but I was thinking, I was like, they do. I just feel like I wish they flushed out, like open up where they like arrive in New York City, do a few shots, spend like a night or two filming in the city, so you can kind of spread that thin throughout for like some exteriors. Yeah. But then you've got, they do the sewers, they, go in a high rise, go in a rooftop sewer, go to Broadway, go inside, backstage at a theater. There's so many kind of quintessential New York City settings that are interiors.
But
that it's like,
what was Broadway like in 1989?
Probably like a crack den.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I know like Times Square, I think Times Square was like where you went to get prostitutes back then.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even just look at the subways in this movie.
Yeah.
How they used to be.
The first thing that happened when they got there was that they got mugged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the commentaries they talked about, all the like subways and stuff were shot in Vancouver, and they actually brought in fake spray paint and like put all that stuff everywhere. Like you can see in some parts, there's like it says Jason Lives on a poster.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. I didn't see that. That's amazing.
Yeah, right when she sits down at the seat and she's looking through like one of the plastic dividers. It says Quayton Lives in like graffiti on the thing. Mm-hmm. I looked that up. Quayton was the name of a band that the director was in high school.
Cute.
And so he just put that on there, Quayton Lives. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fun.
I think they do something similar in Oh my God. I just like lost the name of the movie. Fred Decker.
Night of the Creeps?
Night of the Creeps. They do something similar where it's like when they're in the bathroom, you see a thing that says like the Monster Squad lives. And I just love those little moments.
Do a lot of these boats, I don't know, this was like a cruise ship, but it was also like, it was a repurposed like fishing boat or something.
Definitely
like
not an actual cruise ship.
Industrial.
Yeah.
Some like they had like the restaurant that had like the tables and like the dance room, but then there was like, they're just like her bedroom was really nice where she like seduces the teacher, but then she goes in the bathroom and it's like a submarine kind of looking ship.
Yeah.
When they throw her off the boat, is there like, there's like big chunks of this boat that doesn't have like a railing on it.
Yeah.
It's just like weird open. Is that normal?
Yeah. I don't think so. You think there, I mean, Titanic had railing, right? Yeah. That's where Rose was.
Remember they like hung off the side of the railing on the King of the World thing? Yeah. Definitely railing.
I feel like they shot on very different, like one shot is like a military vessel, one's a catamaran, like whatever was kind of like convenient for the scene. That's for like, that's the
commentary they brought up shooting in two different boats. So it's like, at least for like interiors and stuff, some were sound stage, but then they had two different interior boats. So,
Something tells me the disco ballroom was a soundstage.
You think?
Yeah.
Some rooms you can see are like, wow, it's not a boat.
So let's talk about that room for a minute.
In the commentary, Kane Hodder said that was the most challenging stunt he'd ever done. And it was because the lights on the floor, it was so incredibly hot in the Jason thing that he said he was about to pass out when he's holding, what's her name? He's strangling Eva.
Eva.
Yeah. And I want to bring up, because I have a very important note here. Eva's played by Kelly Hu is in the world famous movie The Scorpion King. She played the sorceress.
Oh, okay.
My personal fantastic movie that I love, which I know is
incredible.
Yeah, that people maybe don't like, but it's good.
It's smashed.
That's incredible.
It may be debatable, but
so in the dance hall, that's where like Jason so far in this movie has transported a couple times. Mm-hmm. But in the dance hall is really where you get the bulk of it. And you're like, oh shit. Okay. He's teleporting.
Well, yeah. Cause he's like, he's basically in her peripheral vision, but she doesn't see him. So he literally does just basically appear.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
I missed so much of this movie.
Yeah. And this was a part that I wish
I saw it.
Yeah. This was a part of the movie that I wish they would have made it a little clearer. The teleportation thing. Like, I know like one of the new games did like almost like an Evil Dead thing where like you'd fly through the woods when you're Jason. Like it was a POV kind of thing. And to me, it took me a minute to figure out he was teleporting. I was just like, what? Why is he like, there's another part later on where a guy's climbing up I don't know what it is, a boat thing, a pole. And then like Jason's like right on it, and throws him off. And it's like, what? We had to get there.
Well, in like the disco room, I just, I don't remember what the set looked like, but maybe I just assumed there were a bunch of mirrors because it was like a dance hall.
Oh,
so I thought that it was like yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, he's moving around.
All right.
He's moving around.
Cool.
Because there is that scene on the ladder where
he
disappears behind him. And then later when Charles is running away from him in New York City and he runs into that building and then he just gets thrown out the window because Jason's up there already.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, man, he's a ghost. Wait.
No, he's not a ghost, Zach.
Jason pulls new powers from from his victims and like just like people that he's faced off against. So like he kills some people, he gets ghost powers. He fights the telekinetic girl in part 7. Mm-hmm. He can now like transport himself to like other places and like mess with people's minds.
So wait, you're saying that he kills the lady with telekinesis and now he can transport.
He didn't kill her, so he just needs to like fight you and then he can absorb your powers.
So he's like Rogue from X-Men. If he touches them, he
Jason
can take
is the
powers.
Rogue of the horror franchise.
All right, cool, sure.
Little known fact.
Right. After they actually find out that Jason is in fact on that cruise ship killing people, they all just go do whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, everyone gets sort of like
whatever?
a set piece. No one's like, it's never like a reaction to Jason. It's just like, you're here, you die. You're here, you die.
Right, but so like, you know, there's clearly a killer on there, someone who is like, you know, not even a real human being, somehow is alive and killing people on this ship. And instead of just like staying in one room and figuring out what to do, everybody's just gonna.
Well, they don't. Number one, the one dude says it's Jason, and then Charles is like,
I'm talking about when they go. Okay, even if it's not Jason, somebody's killing people. Somebody's killing people. Mm-hmm. And you are all in one room together. Mm-hmm. And you decide that someone is on the ship killing people. Mm-hmm. Why don't you just stay there?
Well, Charles tries to get them to stay there.
Okay, but that's great. But why don't they?
Because Julius is a boxer and he wants to fucking take him on. And he says, school's out, Charles.
Well, that's right. He does say, yeah. Well, it didn't work out for him real well because he got his head punched off.
Which is such a classic Jason moment.
It's something.
You can also do that in the video game too. You can punch people's heads off.
No, you can't.
Oh, really?
I swear to God, you can do quite a bit.
That's funny.
But yeah, they're in that room and Charles is like, we're staying here. And Julius is like, nope, we're going. We're doing our own thing. We're going to find this guy. He like gathers up a bunch of guns. I guess they were like the skeet shooting guns. And he's got like a knife or something. And he rolls them out and he says, this is the best thing. There's two things that happen in the scene that I love. He rolls them out and he goes, all right, everybody pick your weapon. And this one random guy, he's just an extra. He's just there to fill space. He clearly reaches across for a shotgun, but somebody gets it first. And so he tries to like play it off like he meant to go for something else.
Oh, yeah.
He picks it up. And then they say, and Julius doesn't pick anything. And they say, Julius, what are you taking? And he looks at and he says, nothing. Like he's just this fucking badass. And then he looks at everybody else with weapons and he goes, except this shotgun.
Wow.
Like, okay,
he couldn't commit to it. He's like,
wow.
That's funny. We should point out that like we're about an hour into the movie. We've met our monster, but we haven't met our monster in the setting that the title of the movie promises. Yeah. So, listeners, we're almost there. Jason is here, but he's not here in the sense that you want him to be here.
He's not in Manhattan yet.
He's not in Manhattan.
Going back, because when you were talking about the guns and stuff, it reminded me like you were talking about how they took advantage of all of the amenities on the cruise ship. Are there really fucking clay pigeons on cruise ships?
I've never been on a cruise.
This cruise ship has everything, Casey.
Fucking really? You guys are I don't know. It was so weird. This movie is so fucking weird.
I've just learned to accept everything in this movie.
This movie's weird.
It's like I always see in movies, you know, it's like people are shooting those clay things on boats, but it's like I don't know if because we went on a cruise years ago. I don't remember people shooting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Over their shoulder.
So weird. So weird.
Yeah, but if there was a water slide, Jason could be like, they're like going down the slide, and you don't even pay attention to the guy who's like sending you down, and like finally he like looks up and it's like Jason. And he's got,
Jason's
like,
the lifeguard,
a whistle, or he's in little shorts and a whistle.
But it's sort of like in like a Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah, I want to see him like you start sliding, and then you see him behind you. You know, he gets on the slide behind you, and he's got his knife. And
yeah.
He's just like aiming it out, like ready to stab. You're like trying to slide faster. You're like pushing yourself down. It's like a really long scene where like you're adding like wax to the slide to get yourself to go faster, like finding like different tools to like help.
So I did watch Scary Movie, and that would definitely be something that would happen in Scary
100%.
Yeah. Oh, you know, I started after our conversation last week. I started watching Scary Movie.
Yeah.
And I forgot about the whole doofy plot line thing.
I know.
And so when that came on, I was like, I'm not going to finish this.
I know, but the rest of it is so funny.
I know. Oh, I know.
Oh my God.
They touch on some things that are just a little
of course
too icky.
Yeah.
But the whole Gale thing just fucking kills me because Sherry O'Terry is so funny.
Yeah.
Get off my foot, fat shit.
Get off my foot, fat shit. Oh, it's so funny.
All right, so we want to get to New York City, not unlike the students on this boat. There's a whole senior class on this boat, and there's a line where someone's like, where are the kids that we left in the cafeteria? And they're like, the cafeteria, they're all dead. And they're like, okay, well, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, it's more subtle than that because she leaves. So she does bring in like 5 teenagers that are just random. And she says, stay here. I'll be right back. Mm-hmm. Then she goes and finds dude. And she's like, wait, we have to get back to the others. They're in the restaurant. And he just looks at her and he says, there is no more restaurant.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay,
all right,
they're
let's
probably dead. Let's go. Leave them. Fuck it.
When they got on the lifeboat, her dog was just magically there, huh?
Oh yeah.
They brought that up during the commentary because the actress who played her. She's like, how did the dog get there? So she even like in the commentary was like, what the heck's going on?
We see Jason. There's like another deleted scene where Jason's like swimming and the dog's just like surfing Jason like to shore. And Jason's like, whatever. Not gonna kill the dog.
Has he killed any animals, Jason? I'm sure he has, right?
Technically, yes. I guess it depends.
I did read Wikipedia and IMDb. Originally in the script, he kicks the dog, but Kane Hodder thought it was too far.
Yeah, so he brought that up. Yeah.
Kill the people, don't kick the dog.
Yeah.
Well, because I think it was in
I
part
agree.
2 where there's the dog, and they do that cutaway where like the dog runs up to Jason's feet. We look down and you're like, oh no, what's going to happen? And then it cuts to them like roasting hot dogs. But at the end of the movie, the dog does show up at the door. But one could argue that whole like last scene of Jason 2 is a dream because there's a lot of weird things. And like, that's something you could totally like pull apart. But like the fact that I forget the guy's name, but the other, the last, like one of the other survivors outside of Ginny kind of just disappears and she gets taken away and the movie just sort of ends. Like she has her fight with Jason and then all of a sudden it's the next day. The dog's there. It's kind of like a happy ending. So it's kind of been read by some as being not real. So anyways, long story short, I don't know if he's ever killed a dog, depending on how you look at it.
Good, cool.
Well, even if he did kill the dog in part 2, that was technically human Jason. This is zombie Jason, who may have a like different outlook after he's been dead a few times. Now.
Yeah.
So does Jason swim to New York, or does he like hold on to the boat, or
he could do like the sort of like Pirates of the Caribbean like slow walk?
He can teleport.
Well, if he can teleport, he would have just teleported onto land, I would think. But he got out of the water.
Well,
it's like, damn it.
Yeah.
You just see him like fall out of the sky. It was somewhere. He's like, ah!
It was really far distance, so it's hard to be precise when it's far like that.
Exactly.
Especially if you can't see it.
It's true.
Don't you know how teleportation works?
He also wasted all of his powers on parting the sea, so by the end of this movie, Jason's exhausted. It's no wonder he transforms into a child at the end.
We're in New York City? Are we in New York City? Did we make it there?
We're there. After Julius and Sean paddled them the whole way there. Like nobody else could fucking paddle.
I know. Charles was like screaming at the kid to fucking paddle. And just
well, he's doing like the Jurassic Park, like Jeff Goldblum, like lounge where he's just so relaxed, just staring at everyone.
He's not Jeff Goldblum, so he's like not allowed to do that.
I know, it's blasphemy.
Yeah, it is.
That's why he died, because of he knew someday Jeff Goldblum would be in Jurassic Park doing that similar pose.
We do. Right when Jason gets out of the water, we get that awesome, very comical head tilt when he sees the billboard with his the mask on it. I think that's great. That's
like our true introduction to him. Like as the movie promises that we were talking about, like that's Jason Takes Manhattan. He steps out of the water. He's in the city. We get like a nice little kind of comical like joke with Jason. There's some personality. But yeah, by this point though, you are a little exhausted, but we made it. Hey, that's,
Yeah.
We're 8 movies deep. Everyone's a little tired.
Jesus Christ. How many are there altogether?
12.
12.
12, yeah.
Well, if you count Freddy versus Jason and the remake.
Okay. So then there's 10 without those 2.
Yeah, but then also I guess part 5 doesn't have Jason, and part 9 doesn't technically canon.
Part 5, just to be clear, Casey, Danny's being a little extreme.
Okay.
Part 5 has a Jason character. It just turns out to be a copycat killer.
Roy. I love the name is like, it's just so the opposite of Jason.
So now I'm wondering if I've been living a lie and I've really never even seen any of these movies.
Oh my God.
Because I know that I've seen Jason Goes to Hell 100 times for no reason. I know I've seen the first one and the second one, but maybe I haven't seen any of the other ones.
All right. Well, this podcast is taking a turn. We are now a Friday the 13th rewatch podcast.
I did see Jason X. I saw it in the theater.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you saw some good ones. You saw some bad ones. You basically saw them all. I mean, there's some really good ones in between that you missed, but like you got the gist of it at the very least.
Yeah, because I was thinking earlier about like things like specific, like any of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Like I can basically, like I know what happens in all of those movies, and then I was thinking about these movies. I'm like, I have no fucking idea what happens in any of these.
Neither did some of the writers. And
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, sure. I guess who knows? Maybe I have seen them all.
JK.
Maybe they were so traumatic that I just blocked them out of my memory.
Yeah, there it is. Well, we should. So right when they get to the city, they're met with the guys that we were talking about in the opening, the muggers. And we should point out that our lead, Rennie, spends the remaining like 35 minutes of this movie high on heroin, which is something that I feel like gets glossed over a little bit.
So they did say that it was cocaine.
Oh, okay.
Because
really, you can inject cocaine.
You can inject cocaine. You can inject any drug.
See, guys, that's what this podcast is for. It's to educate. You learn something new every day. I didn't know you could inject cocaine.
Yes, you can inject any drug.
Okay. Well, even so, she does not look. Well, I don't know, stereotypically coked up.
That makes sense though, because she's on she's on a bunch of cocaine, and I doubt she's ever done any drugs. And I mean, then she wrecks the car, and she's all erratic and shit. That makes sense.
She's like fucking shit up.
It checks out. It checks out now. I forgot about
That's
that.
Funny. Okay, that makes more sense.
But yeah, like I said, that part's really intense. It was like the only part of the movie that had any substance to me, because it was like
it's
so
dark.
Yeah, and then you're pulled out of it super quickly, and then that's it.
I mean, they even almost try to kill the dog. It's just so like...
Yeah.
It's the filmmakers are telling us New York is a hellscape. You do not want to come here. I remember telling my parents that I lived, obviously I lived in New York for like 5 years, and they would always ask questions. They're like, well, what's it like now? And I'm like, there's like birds chirping outside. Like, it's so sweet, and everyone's so friendly and like artsy. And
yeah, there are parts of it though that are
not. But I would argue that there's more good than bad. But that's just my experience.
Yeah.
You guys, I'm starting to think of a new, something new here. Okay. So when she's doped up on the coke, she sees the ghost baby Jason standing in the fucking thing, and she tries to crash into him, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe she's been on drugs the whole movie.
Maybe she has.
And that's why she's seeing these visions of baby Jason, who they're not really there.
So are you taking back your original theory about the spirit Jason and the other realm and all that shit, and Rennie's just on drugs?
Wait a minute. Maybe Manhattan is like a street name for whatever drug they're taking, and it's Jason Takes Manhattan. So he took this drug called Manhattan, and we're now seeing the fever dream of Jason Voorhees thinking he's like killing people, but he's still like dead underwater. And it's just him like wishing like, oh, if I could just go to the city, and oh, if I could take a cruise. Oh my God. Like, and like, imagine killing everyone on the cruise, and there's a spa and a disco ball and a dog.
And clay pigeons.
Clay pigeons. It's everything he never got to experience because of those camp counselors who neglected to watch him in the first movie.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so you heard it.
Those
here,
are all the
folks.
things, like they're in his subconscious, because they're all the things that were on like the brochures to Camp Crystal Lake.
It's like, wow,
man.
why is there archery on this? Why is there a canoe? We're on a boat. All right, Jason takes Manhattan.
Yeah. So Rennie is technically responsible for killing that woman, right? So
yeah.
Rennie and Jason are not that different, are they?
They definitely find some common ground by the end of this movie. I would agree.
They're both
with you, yeah.
murderers.
Mhm.
All right, and that is the last of this movie that I remember.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Well, so the rest of the
wait.
movie is basically just a chase scene where you get some more, we get some pretty classic kills, or at least one classic kill, but it's mostly just like a race to the finish, to the sewers.
The diner scene is fun.
Oh, the diner scene. Did you guys catch that little cameo in there, which was technically like a pre-cameo? It was Ken Kurtzinger, who plays the chef in the diner, would end up also becoming Jason Voorhees in Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh, no shit.
Which is strange because Kane Hodder had wanted to play Jason in Freddy vs. Jason, but ended up not getting the role because they wanted a different kind of build for Jason, someone just kind of just bigger, I guess. So ironically, this guy kind of got his revenge.
We've talked about this before, but I have a bone to pick with Ronnie Yu. For real. That movie could have been something. It is like, it's special and it's fun because it is what it is.
Yeah, but it's not good.
It could have been so good.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for it.
Of course.
Yeah. I'll watch it and I'll enjoy it, especially when they get down to the end and they're fighting, and Freddy's in the real world. And
there's some aesthetic things that I probably like subjectively am not like on the same page with, but in terms of, but I get what you're saying. But God, Freddy vs. Jason movie, I still can't believe that movie exists.
Right?
Really? Why?
Yeah, it just warms the cockles of my heart.
Oh.
Well, Casey, I mean, it's been teased ever since your favorite Friday the 13th with the ending of Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, that's right. That was like 93, and then it was almost 10 years, about 10 years exactly.
Do you think that because there is toxic waste that gets flooded in the sewers, do you think that the world of Friday the 13th might share the world of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
100%.
Yeah, we literally see Splinter in the opening scene. That rat.
Nice.
This is an origin story.
That would be a fun. That would be like a fun comic book.
Yeah, they were like,
you know
guys,
what I mean?
We're like, the Jason character is sort of on the decline, so we need to like a rat and turtles.
Casey
we have
Jones.
The toxic waste.
Casey Jones.
Oh, the hockey mask.
Yeah, he's a hockey player.
They just took all the leftover props they had from this movie and were like, all right, create another franchise. Horror's not working. We need like martial arts.
Man, I love those movies so much.
They're pretty great.
So, okay, yeah, the sewer is about to flood with toxic waste. And, okay, tell me one more time. Sure. Is it Rennie?
Yes.
Yeah, like Rennie Harlan.
Rennie Harlan, yeah.
Oh, okay. Rennie somehow opens a barrel of toxic waste with a flashlight by pounding on it.
Yeah, it's a lift lid, but she's hitting it and then gets it open, yeah.
And then she picks up a barrel of toxic waste that's like, it's like spilling over the sides, right? And she manages to throw it on Jason. And that's when we see we're revealed. His face is revealed. It's cool. I like his face. I like the way it looks.
It's a departure, but it's cool.
Well, I mean, he had a kind of a crazy face like that in part 7, right?
Yeah, but it's a little bit more, this one's much more waterlogged than that one. This one feels like puffier, and it's lost all of its like pigmentation, and also like the mouth is, it's doing something.
I've read stuff where people call him like Jack-o'-lantern Jason because of the mouth.
Yeah, he does. He looks like a jack-o'-lantern. 100%.
Okay.
And he like always, I love how he has like these like water reserves in him, and he is always kind of like every now and then just like regurgitating like a gallon of water. Just like a lot of water just comes out.
Do you know the story behind that?
What is it? No.
Do you know the story behind the water? Yeah, because apparently Kane Hodder can just like throw up at will. So like he drank, I think he said 2 quarts of water. Like 2 quarts of water, and then did the take, and he's actually regurgitating that water for that shot.
Oh my god!
Yes.
That's amazing.
That's so gross. Yeah. Casey, you missed all this.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay. Casey was so into this movie that she was like, I just need to buy tickets to Manhattan. I need to be here. I can't even pay attention to the movie.
She was on Expedia the whole time.
No, like I have issues sometimes paying attention to things, especially if they're not like keeping my interest.
Totally.
But I wasn't even like using my phone or anything like that. I legitimately just was not.
You're like, I just can't be present.
Yeah, I just wasn't paying attention. I don't even know what was going on in my head. It just wasn't focused on the movie.
No harm, no foul. I don't blame you.
So Jason is washed away by toxic waste, and now he is a boy,
sweet baby
who
boy,
has a sweet baby boy who like has no deformities. And you would think that like if like the toxic waste was washing away, like he would be like a goopy dead boy, but he's like not.
Remind me if I missed something. So after he transforms into the boy, does the boy then sort of like disappear or anything, or do we just cut away?
I think we just cut away.
So is he just like there?
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah, there's like a little ledge he's laying on, and then they go up the ladder, and I think that's the last we see of him.
That's so bizarre.
Okay.
So this kid's just like in the sewer still? Like what is this supposed to suggest? It's so confusing.
Where does part 9 pick up?
Not from this. It's very different.
Yeah, part 9 starts like with a girl going to the cabin in the woods, and it turns out she's like an FBI agent, and Jason surrounded.
Yeah,
he's just there again, like as a corpse walking around or something.
Oh, so part 9 is Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, first of all, didn't know that.
Oh.
Second of all, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to think
none of it does,
like,
I guess, but
Jason's look in Jason Goes to Hell.
He's very like
his mask is sort of like he's a little bigger, and his mask is sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's
like infused into his face.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, his face is like, or his head's like all around it, kind of.
Which you could argue has something to do with maybe being, like we said, like he's waterlogged. But I guess you would have to just sort of pick and choose what elements of part 8 kind of stuck. Like maybe him turning into a boy was like a fantasy. I don't know.
Speaking of things not making sense, they go up to the surface, right? And they're back in Times Square again.
Yeah, of course. Everything's Times Square.
He still has the necklace in his pocket, and he says, I heard there's a 22-story statue here that we could climb up. And it's like, okay, you're not going to go see the sights.
Also, not the time to be cute.
Yeah. And they're just like, oh, let's explore New York. We're here. They don't have any money. They're probably going to be homeless. And they have no way to get back home.
And his dad's dead.
They're going to start... his dad is dead.
Yep.
Yes.
Her uncle, who was her fucking...
Yeah, so it's like he's mourning his dad.
Oh, my God.
They don't have any parents between the two of them.
Yeah.
Or legal guardians.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Legal guardian.
Wow, what a dark ending. I didn't think... They really, like, throw you off with, like, a little cute moment in the end, but...
Yeah, but they have love, so it's fine.
Yeah. Love conquers all, and drugs make you forget about death.
That's true. They probably did both move on, like, just stay there, and they probably went and hung out with the muggers.
Well, they probably took over that's like prime real estate in that alley. They probably just took it over. They're familiar with it. They may as well. She knows the effects, so she's like, okay, I can like figure out the dosage, and we could sell this and make a living. Our dog knows how to navigate the city pretty well. I'm sure he could sort of do something with that.
They've got that great sofa there too that they could always get, sell that.
Exactly.
Yep.
They're fine. They made it, man. Like they're good.
Oh.
What about reveals? What do you guys like? What are some of your favorite reveals in this movie? And we have our first reveal is when he comes up onto the boat in the beginning.
Sure.
But then there's also like different character reveals. What are some of you guys' favorites?
My favorite reveal is Satami. But that's because it just scared me. I jumped.
Oh.
Because she's like, she heard something, right? So she's like waiting and she's like,
well, she like peeks out the door and she sees him come in the room and she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so she sees him and she's like, oh my God. She's like trying to compose herself and figure out what to do, and then slams through the door.
That's good.
And I jumped.
I would say my favorite, and it's kind of the obvious one, I guess, is when Jason finally arrives in Manhattan and he steps out of the dock and looks up and he sees the big billboard of the hockey player. Because that's what I thought would be the introduction to Jason in this movie. So I'm just counting that as the official one.
Matthew, what about you?
He's going to take mine. I know it. But no, I don't think so. Okay. But I actually, my favorite was the actual introduction to him. I just thought I kind of like my Jason in the camp kind of situation. I thought it was really cool seeing his introduction where his feet step around the corner and he goes down the steps. It was kind of Michael Myers-ish looking with just seeing his feet, but I thought it was just kind of cool seeing him dripping wet. Just kind of scary.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Nathaniel?
Yeah. So mine was different. So it's like, that's good. Mine was, there's a shot we're outside like the helm, and I guess it's the guy who had the new baby kid or whatever, but the camera's dolling in and it's raining and you like see it's real atmospheric and it's got like the windshield wipers going, and then Jason shows up behind him. I really liked that shot. I felt like it could have been executed a little differently, but I wish Jason would have appeared out of the shadows versus in the green light, but I really liked the shot. So.
All right.
Okay.
That's good.
I'm going to go with when the rock star girl sees him in the she's in like the boiler room. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
She sees him like up on top of the stairs, and then he starts walking down, and it's just like, oh shit. Cause you're in like this, just the setting. I think the setting kind of reminded me of like,
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Freddy's Dead.
Yeah.
Freddy's Dead, where you have Carlos with the hearing aid.
Yep.
It kind of reminded me of that setting, and I just love that. So I think that was mine.
All right.
Well, now it's time for a segment that I like to call The Real Monster.
Run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. You're a monster. I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world. Now tell me, where are the others? Eat me!
Casey, who do you have for Real Monster in Jason Takes Manhattan?
I have Jason, but it's not for the reasons that you think. It's because he can't use doors. He just smashes through every single door in this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a shame. That's all.
I have two. One is Well, who was the character? It's not Rennie's mom. It's not her aunt either. Is that her teacher?
It's a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's one of the real monsters for not confirming whether or not the pen that she gave her was actually Stephen King's. She's like, it's supposedly Stephen King's. It's like, well, can you make sure before you like give it to someone as a gift and expect like a reaction to that? It's like, I think this was this. It's like, I think this movie's set in Manhattan. Kind of.
Yeah, but it wasn't, so.
There's not a lot of commitment in this movie, and that stresses me out.
There's really not.
No.
What's your second one?
My second one is geography. How did the boat get to Manhattan from a lake?
Yeah.
It just, I don't get it. Just give us something. Be like, this isn't Camp Crystal Lake, or don't set it on the lake to begin with. Just put them in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Geography just doesn't.
Well, maybe maybe Camp Crystal Lake had a canal or a river or something that led to the ocean.
I mean, I hope so.
I mean, it's the only answer.
What about you guys? Did you guys think of any real monsters for Jason Takes Manhattan?
For me, it's not as clever as y'all's, but it was Charles. I couldn't stand him. The uncle or whatever.
Yep.
It's like he was constantly
he's a
nasty.
bedhead.
It's like no matter what, he was driving me up the wall. But
yeah, I was going with Uncle Charles also.
Yeah.
Just the fact that it's like no one could do anything ever right. Like the kid whose father was the captain, like he's rolling them to shore and the guy's like griping at him. And it's like,
put you back into it. That kind of feel.
It's like not doing anything. They just saved your life. You want to be, because may have said a comment like, we should have been back on the boat.
Yeah.
And it's like, the boat's freaking.
That kid also saved Rennie when she got pushed in the water. He saved her, and then he goes, get away from her.
Yeah. Everyone has to get away from Rennie from his perspective. Every time someone walks in, it's like, get away from her, get away from her. It's like, why?
So weird.
Take it easy.
Well, even in that moment when like he jumps in after her and they come up and he saves her, whatever, even the teacher lady is like, go get her some towels. Yeah. Nobody cares about this Sean kid who is also soaking wet in the cold water. And it's just like, don't worry about you.
Point.
Like, just get her some towels. Okay.
Uncle Charles just brought a really just like salty energy to this ship for really
salty.
Yeah, he didn't need to be there. Why was he the one teacher who was like, well, I guess he wasn't the one teacher, but why these two teachers?
Right.
You know, I thought of the second one. It would probably have to be that control panel that the filmmaker guy's thrown into that just like erupts into flames, and then it's okay, maybe it's control panel, and then the guy who designed the ship, it's like, oh, we're going to put this flammable thing right next to it, so it blows up.
We were actually talking about this when we were watching the movie. We're like, so if you throw someone into the TV when it's off, will you explode?
Yes.
At least that's the logic.
That's such a weird movie trope. Like I'm thinking of in Halloween 2 when Ben Tramer gets hit by the car, and the second the car like makes contact, it just explodes.
All kinds of explosions in movies. Cars don't. Even when what's her name wrecked in this movie, when Rennie wrecked the car in this movie, it exploded.
Huge explosion, flame engulfing everything.
Yeah.
I just imagine in the 70s and 80s, like someone goes to a car dealership and the guy at the dealer is like, all right, well, we got you fully equipped. It's fully loaded, automatic, a dynamite, of course, under the engine.
It's a grenade, so anytime you hit anything, the car will just blow up.
A stick of TNT and we're good.
Yeah.
I had Charles as well on my list. Just because just his demeanor the whole time. Also, when he throws Rennie into the water when she's a kid to learn how to swim, right after he told her about the legend of Jason and he'll like pull you under and whatever. Like, dude,
it was real weird because in that scene, like at first they started to make it seem like he used to be like really nice to her and shit, but no, he never was.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting with the character of Uncle Charles and with Rennie is it felt and I'm saying watered down. I don't mean it as like a diss. It almost felt like a watered down version of the I can't think of her name, but the two characters from the previous Jason movie. Is it New Blood? Because it's kind of like that same dynamic of like the main character who has sort of like this traumatic experience associated with the water, with the lake. And then this older character who's supposed to be sort of like a guardian-esque character who is constantly kind of like thrusting her into these situations that are like to like extract fear and like an emotional response. And at least in that one, like, you know why, but in this one, he just seems sort of evil. Like he just wants her to not be okay.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I did have the Crystal Lake Power Department for not burying those power lines that go under the lake. I feel like, okay, so I did a little research and I did find out that because there's power lines that go all across the ocean.
Right.
When they are close to shore, they're buried. But then once they're like out in the middle of the ocean, they just lay on the ocean floor. Camp Crystal Lake is not, or just Crystal Lake can't be that big. They could have buried those power lines. And so like how many boats drag anchors across the bottom? Like why were they the only ones that
awakened Jason?
It seems like it's just a very hazardous thing to not bury those lines across the lake.
Very hazardous, yes. Safety first.
And then also my last one would be the waitress putting her cigarette out on the eggs, the leftover eggs. Because like, why? That's like,
welcome to New York. This is what we do here.
So that's Jason Takes Manhattan.
We did it.
Yeah, there it is.
Do you guys have anything else to add about this movie? Oh, I did think of the Barbers during this movie. You guys had mentioned that No One Is Coming was kind of based off of like a shot in, was it Jason Lives, where there's like the door opens and the leaves go in? Mm-hmm. There was a really cool shot when he like gets down into the sewers in this one and she's running away and he's chasing after her. And it's like a really long lens and they're like looking down the whole tunnel and he's like walking towards her. And I just thought like, oh, that is just like such a cool shot. Like it doesn't really mean much or whatever. It's just a very cool visual. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be neat.
Yeah.
Well, you guys had mentioned earlier
story, Zach,
about sort of like the atmosphere in one of the scenes. And it made me immediately think of your guys' shorts, and you guys kill it with the atmosphere. I don't know, like, for people who are listening who haven't seen these shorts, if you have access to it, you need to watch them because you guys craft such tight, creepy, atmospheric little horror shorts, and they're just so fun. And I always get excited whenever you announce like a new short that you're working on, because you totally see it. You see it like in that shot from Jason Lives. It's just like with the smoke and the leaves and the wind, and it's so there's just so much to chew on. With the atmosphere and like, you know, cause you can only fit so much into a short, and you guys don't miss us, you know, anything basically with like what you have.
Thanks so much, man. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's definitely one of our goals. We always try to make them really have some texture and just be something that you experience. And that shot, I was thinking the same thing when Jason was walking down that long corridor, and it's like it seems like he may have been walking in and out of like there's banks of light, and I just thought, man, that is a cool shot. But I remember that one when you brought it up. Like I was thinking, man, that's cool.
Now that's gonna be inspiration for your next short. Everything comes back to Jason.
Do you guys have anything that you're working on right now?
We've got 2 shorts at the moment. We've got one that we shot, I guess, around spring break, and we're just waiting on the score for a composer. And then we're in the middle of pre-production for a Vietnam creature short.
Amazing. Can you guys tell us anything about titles, or are you kind of keeping those under wraps for now, that information, which I totally understand if you are?
Yeah. The first one we shot in spring break's called Shelter Half, and it takes place in a shelter half tent, which but that, and these new ones we're making are like even shorter than our other ones. They're like 2-3 minutes, that kind of thing, like trying to hit almost like that, the pacing of what's his name, David Sandberg with his Lights Out was super short.
Oh yeah.
That's what we're trying to do, is it's like, okay, can we make something scary that's like, 2-3 minutes long? And then the other one, it's about tunnel rats in Vietnam, you'd have American soldiers go down into the holes and stuff where the VC, have booby traps and whatnot. So that's what the other one's about, but it's called Sempre Avanti. But
we have another short that we shot in November, and it should have a world premiere in August.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a preference for between like shooting a creature feature versus something more supernatural, like a ghost story?
We've shot like one after another ghost stories, but it's like, I like creature features, but the problem is you have to get a creature for it, since far more expensive. But so we've had to make that leap for these. So that's weird. Yeah.
Just a new challenge, which is, I'm sure is fun, but also daunting.
Yeah. It's nice to have like non-poltergeist stuff happening in a short. 'Cause we've had like, I guess, was it 3-4 back to back with ghost stuff? And it's like, okay, it's like you want to do something new, but at the same time, it feels almost the same thing. But so,
all right. Well, that is all the time we have for Jason Takes Manhattan. Thank you to Nathaniel and Matthew Barber for joining us today to talk about Jason once again. Where can our listeners find you guys on social media?
You can find us on Instagram. I'm trying to remember what the heck my Instagram is. It's like Nathan. What is it?
Well, I'll tell you mine. I'm Matthew Barber. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at mbarberfilm.
And so mine is Nathan. I guess that's underscore when it's the little line at the bottom. Barber_film. I think that's how it's said.
Awesome.
Instagram and I think Twitter's the same. Don't worry about it.
Take out your pencils and write it down.
We'll link it in the show notes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes,
Casey,
it is an
what about
underscore,
you?
by the way. You are correct. I'm on Instagram at WolfMotherCasey.
Danny?
I feel like you guys are like, Zach and Casey are like my immediate family, and we have guests over, and I'm like, please don't make me say my thing.
You have to say it. It's a part of us now.
It is. All right.
It's like a new pair of underwear. At first it's restrictive, and then it becomes a part of you.
Oh my god.
I was gonna say, or like Jason's mask. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Danny Salem. That's DANNYSALEMME. 2 M's like the candy, melt in your butt, not in your hands.
Wonderful. And you can find me on social media at Zach Winsick. If you guys would like to check out our website, howimetyourmonster.com, you can find past episodes of the show, sign up for our newsletter, and even check out our TeePublic store for new merchandise.
We are currently, I was just going to add to that, we are currently accepting positive reviews. So if you want to drop a positive reviews, unfortunately, the system is down on negative reviews. We are not taking them or accepting them. But we are going to get our team on that to fix. But in the meantime, positive reviews, please.
Yes, that's right. And make sure to join us next episode where we will be trying to beat the heat with watching maybe one of the hottest movies of the 1980s, Cujo.
I hope it's better than Jason Takes Manhattan.
It is. Casey, I'll just be honest. It is.
It really, I would say Cujo does a better job at the New York Manhattan setting than Jason Takes Manhattan does.
That's a joke, though. Okay. I have no idea.
Yes. Yeah. No, with the weather the way it is, there's no better movie to to dive into than Cujo, because you can feel the heat in that movie.
It's an immersive experience.
And it's just, oh my gosh. So you need to watch it outside. You need to set up a projector outside in the 100-degree weather and watch Cujo so you can feel like you're really in it.
Like, wow, I feel like I'm part of the experience. It's like just like passing out.
You like look over and there's like a fucking Saint Bernard just like standing there. Well, again, thank you to the Barbers for coming on the show, and thank you all for listening. Now go meet some monsters.